Hello, my name is Evan Manning, and this is my Module 4 video for AEP 855, which is over KESA. KESA is the Kansas Educational Systems Accreditation, and it was the new system in place in 2016 that overtook the old QPA system. The rubric isolates that we should do a couple things. The first was to look at our specific building sort of slash district, look at the model in comparison to the rubrics and see where we are and sort of have that self-assessment, as well as get to show some potential school improvements throughout that and articulate some, I guess, highlights, if you will, over the commissioner video from Dr. Randy Watson. So starting there with the video, I thought it was really interesting and telling listening to the video from the Kansas Commissioner of Education talking about how the four subgroups that they thought were important of the four R's were going to be utilized in the new accreditation system. A few things that were probably the most distinct from what I'll be doing in the future of the video was describing just the sort of global differences or distinctions between the old QPA system and the KESA system. The first was describing the distinction of it being an entire district level accreditation rather than individual building, which is important. And hand in hand with that is the 5-year protocol of the time of the accreditations rather than the yearly protocols that were in place. The third was the addition of the outside validation team, which allows sort of an outside perspective of quality rather than just from the principal and superintendent level. And lastly was with that the inclusion of students, parents, business, sort of like entire global culture questions and faculty as per where they felt like they were in the accreditation. And those things are definitely sort of distinct from QPA and things that as an administrator you'd have to be thoughtful of. The next part was talking about how the building and district is doing through the individual models of the four R's. A few things that I focused on were starting with the relationships subcategory. The things that I felt like we were doing well, that I could see sort of that transition of the last couple of years and the inclusion of these types of things for the modeling subsection were things such as the collaboration among all staff, that addition of actually conducting the ongoing structural models for how PLC works and what we're doing were things we didn't used to do, and now seeing that those are isolated issues of showing how we are truly proficient there, why those things were being added, which I thought was interesting. Also, under relevance, which was the second R, some things that I didn't think that we were transitioning or definitively not modeling yet, although I'm sure we're going to be getting there, and therefore sort of stuck still on implementing, were the professional learning. Presents and uses data at the classroom, school, and district levels to inform professional learning about instruction, student engagements, and learning. I really think that we were lacking that sort of formalized process and sort of addressing the ongoing documentation process with professional learning, and that's going to be something that we would need to include either through some sort of Google Doc scenario or individual surveys. For responsiveness, I do think this is something that we overall have done well over the years at Eisenhower High School and therefore as a district as well, as far as really showing how we use research, how the individual roles, responsibilities are used, creating active websites, and things such as that. One thing I think that could be a little bit better is it is good at a building level, but I do think it gets lost occasionally as far as what others are doing or that collaboration in between buildings, especially on this relevancy. And I think that the idea that what is relevant to the high school student might not be as relevant to the elementary student is sort of the cop-out that might make us sort of become more compartmentalized and get away from those uniform cultural questions that they would really want us to be getting for as far as a modeling level and out of implementation. And lastly was rigor. I think that our individual integration and especially like CTE, for example, career awareness and guidance is something that we do well here, and is probably more on the modeling end. However, I do think that the partnerships level, which is that documentation piece of how the partnerships between the district level and businesses, communities, individual industry is lacking. I know that we do things here in building, but at least I wouldn't be aware of what those relationships or connectivity sort of occurs outside that educational space. So even if they are existent, if we're not actually documenting that and proliferating the information, then that's more of a transitioning at best and not a modeling level. Overall, I thought it was just really interesting to sort of learn about this new accreditation system. And constantly, as I've been here for 9 years, as we went through the information for Module 4, I just sort of saw individual things that as a teacher, you don't know why you're doing it, but you know that there's this new piece, new accountability, new surveys, new integration of students or the community into sort of how we are doing. And I think that now that you see what has to be there, it was really interesting to see that piece there and have justification for that. So overall, I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to learn more about the KESA system and see where we're going in the future. Thank you.